The old Jew lived in his shop. His name was Isaac, and around the Grand Bazaar they had to call him Isaac the Jew. He was a tailor by profession and claimed that he was the last Jew remaining in the bazaar, all the others having left during the Revolution to go to America or to the Holy Land. Now, this Isaac was the cause of my getting thoroughly wet with water, and there was good reason for that. Later on, I'd even tell him, Isaac, look at me, I'm soaked. If I hang around you too long, I'll catch a cold. Of course, Isaac had to go and cry when he heard this, and I came to find out that Isaac cried all the time. But before I can tell about Isaac, whose gentle hand had tapped me near the bird seller's quarter, I must tell you about the dog who loved pomegranates. I mentioned earlier that the bird seller's quarter was a place where you could actually bring all sorts of animals to sell. But under the current circumstances, a man had to be a complete fool to bring his dog there during these days of anti-dog hysteria. The posses that had been formed to go after stray dogs were still fully active, and you'd think they'd be getting more incensed as they found fewer and fewer curs to slay in Tehran. What occurred then was this: just as I turned to see who was tapping at me, we heard a fervent bark coming from the shadows of the alley, where men had started to pack their days unsold pigeons into their cages. I looked at Isaac, who hadn't even had a chance yet to introduce himself, and saw the old man's eyes already sad and desperate. He whispered, "Friend, son of Zan, listen to me, please. If I were you, I would not follow the sound of the bark to see what is about to happen to that animal." The old man apparently knew very well who I was. I looked at him. "And you are?" "Isaac," he spoke quietly. I felt more abrupt drops of water at the back of my neck. The dog continued to bark, almost happily. We heard men's laughter, people clapping, somebody quoting a price for the dog, and another countering it. "Isaac, you are soaked through and through," he sneezed. "I know. And you imply that something bad will happen in a minute in relation to that dog?" "Maybe in a minute," he said, "maybe in 10 minutes, but yes, it will, eventually. Something bad always does." "So you can read into the future?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, it's the past I base my words on. I can assure you that that dog is going to get it." Isaac wasn't wrong. It started with the sound of a van coming to a screeching halt. By then I had walked over to the source of the bark, and Isaac had followed closely behind. In the alley of pigeons, the owner of the dog, a jovial, squat little Turkman, was holding forth with an Afghan hound. The fellow must have gone around the bazaar as soon as the hoarding of pomegranates had become a thing of the past, and collected a nice mound of nearly rotted fruit that no one wanted anymore. With rare deftness, he would skin that particularly challenging fruit and scratch off a handful of seeds, as if they were brilliant red pearls waiting to be plucked. Then, with a theatrical brush of his hand, he would toss the pearls in an arc towards the lamppost where the light was brightest, and have the leaping dog sweep every seed with its open snout without letting a single kernel drop to the ground. Men roared with more laughter. The Turkman did a bow and went for another pomegranate while the dog hustled the crowd for money. As she passed me by, I reached into my pocket and dropped a wet bill displaying the visage of the supreme leader, one which I could really afford to part with, into the Turkman's astrakhan cap that the dog was holding up to us with its nimble jaws. Isaac whispered that I was wasting my money, and I whispered back to him to leave me alone. Who was this wet old man anyway? Already the dog's pomegranate tricks had thrown me into a bit of a funk, for I recalled how Hassani had saved me from the sure loss of a limb when he had so nimbly caught 5 pomegranate seeds in his mouth, one after another, in what seemed another age at the captain of the police's quarters. In fact, Hassani had been as agile with the pomegranate then as he appeared nowadays with the soccer ball. Again I was stumped and now recalled the immortal, unanswered questions of some venerable Sufi poet, quoth he, "Whence am I, and what the bloody hell? And if a two-bit thief like the captain of the police could become a celebrated martyr of the revolution all of a sudden, then why couldn't I?" But I did not want to become a martyr, for there was no profit in martyrdom, not immediately anyhow. So I eyed that ill-starred dog carefully, and as the Turkmen went to toss another cluster of seeds for her to leap at, we heard the van and its passengers, a band of dedicated dog butchers. We heard several shouts of Allahu Akbar, and then a couple of gunshots rang out into the thin night. Old Isaac then tapped me on the shoulder once more to say, "Did I not, O son of Zan, tell you so?"